Good night, good night, good night. Welcome to Conversation with Rickford Burke. Of course, this is Rickford here in New York. Thank you for joining me. Sorry for being late. I was actually on Norma Brown's show, Voice of Guyana, discussing the apartheid regime in Guyana with Dr. Hines, Mr. Brown, and Apostle Nigel London. So share the link, everyone. Share the link, and I'll be right back in 60 seconds. Everyone get into your Guyanese groups. Share the link, and I'll be right back. All right, keep sharing the link, everybody. Keep sharing the link. Thank you for joining me. We have a little lighting issue. I'm not sure why, but keep sharing the link. So tonight I want to talk about. Are you guys seeing me clearly? I'm not sure. I'm not seeing myself clearly. But am I? Text me. Let me know if you guys are seeing me clearly here. Somehow I think the lighting is off here a bit. I'm not sure. Yes. Okay. You see me? Yes. Yes. Thanks, everybody. Good. You see me. I don't know what's going on here, but I'm not seeing myself clear. But so tonight I wanted to share the link, everybody. All of you get into your Guyanese group, share your link, whether it's on Twitter, on email, on your WhatsApp, on your Messenger, on your Facebook Messenger, on your MSN Messenger, on wherever you have a social media platform. Share the link in your Facebook groups, wherever you are. Share the link. Everybody, share the link. Take a few minutes and share the link. Also, get onto my YouTube page and subscribe. Also, get onto my public figure page and like and follow me on Facebook, on YouTube, on Twitter. Let's spread the word. So I was just on Norma Brown's program, Voice of the Guyanese Diaspora, and we were talking about the apartheid state of Guyana. And, you know, I wrote an article last night, which will be published tomorrow. And I tried to do an analysis of the effect PPP racism has had on Black communities, Black and Brown communities, and communities that don't support this PPP government. And what inspired this article, I read a Stabrook News editorial that was written on the 3rd of February. I was busy with my birthday setting. Oh, by the way, share the link, keep sharing the link. I want to thank everybody for wishing me happy birthday. It was one of the most spectacular birthdays I've had. Everybody who came out to the birthday celebration. I had a beautiful cake. Oh my goodness, everybody loves the cake. 215,000 people watched at the cake, my post with the cake. And part of the cake was a shoe, an edible shoe on a red carpet. And you know, we had red carpet at the thing. And I have this shoe here. Nobody has bitten into it as yet. But here's the shoe. It is edible. Oh my gosh. I broke it's made of chocolate. I broke it. I just broke it. Miss Ramsey, Deborah Ramsey, I have to bring this shoe back because I want to keep this shoe as a souvenir. But I kind of forgot it was made out of chocolate or whatever it is. It is edible. I can actually eat it. And so I just held it to pick it up just now when I broke it. So there you go. I broke part off, but I'm going to fix it back. I'm going to see if we could paste it back. But this shoe, oh boy, it broke again. Let me leave it alone. But this shoe is edible. It's edible. I broke the back off, but I kind of fixed it back. I want to thank Miss Deborah Ramsey who made this shoe. It's a little small. This looks like a size 8. I wear size 13. Of course, I stand 6'5". I'm 6 feet 5 inches tall. But the creativity was awesome. I love it. I love it. I had everybody who helped me enjoy this birthday. I want to thank you. I'm getting up there in age. I ain't quite reached, you know. I'm still at a young age, but I'm getting there. I'm getting more mature every day. So, apart from that, so I read this article, this editorial from the Starbucks News. Keep sharing the link, everybody. That spoke to the Buxton riots. They call it a riot. It was a little fracas, a disturbance in Buxton. And the Starbucks News called it a riot. A riot. And you know, they spoke about what caused this disturbance. And one love, Hazel Johnson, one love. Thank you. I love you guys back. Keep sharing the link, everybody. Share the link. And the Starbucks News article editorial was saying that the recklessness of this Kanu operation triggered this riot, and that these people came out after they heard the commotion, and according to Kanu and police statements, residents wanted to stop police from apprehending or arresting this suspect, who Kanu ranks, Customs Anti-Narcotics Unit ranks, officers, were pursuing for who had a large quantity of marijuana in this car. Now, first of all, I'm not sure why police is still chasing no marijuana, but I guess that's their job. Anti-narcotics squad. And somehow during this chase, the police, the Kanu ranks fired shots. They fired shots. I'm not sure if there was an exchange of gunfire. It doesn't seem so. But these Kanu ranks fired shots. Now, you're chasing a car with weed, which is legal in most countries, and you're firing shots. It didn't stop there. These gunshots hit people's homes. Hit people's homes. And that's what caused some of the residents to come out. I'm not doubting that some of the people allegedly affiliated with this suspect came out. But this is what you must know. based on information I received, this group of people who are associated with this drug chase or this narcotics distribution are people that the government cultivated. These are their supporters, this small group of people in Buxton or wherever. That's why this story has just died down. We hear nothing more about this story. Everybody keeps sharing the link. But Starbrook News describes some of the atrocities and the social ills associated with the treatment of communities like Buxton. But then they sort of circled back to this old racist attitude that, oh, black people are criminals. And there are criminal elements in Buxton that creates the disturbance. And these criminal elements took the opportunity to rob East Indian people. And what is so offensive about that is that every time black people protest for their rights, somebody come up with some report. Oh, Indian women were raped. Black people robbed Indian people. Some businessman from Crabwood Creek or Port Moran or somewhere was robbed and his lorry was destroyed. So this racist hegemony in Guyana, they are not prepared to do this kind of analysis, so-called analysis, with the government's policies that provoke that kind of disturbance. No. These black people in Buxton, they're criminals. There's this willingness to openly criminalize black people. It's a strategy, and it's coming down from the PPP. And it's a disgrace that there are black people in that institution who the PPP put there for cosmetics, who don't object to this kind of portrayal, profiling, criminalization of black people. They don't object to it. They go along with it. Hey, I want my power, and I want the perceived power, and I want my privileges of a chauffeur and a nice office and security guards at my house and some kickbacks and so on that I could get. Crumbs on the table. Crumbs under the table that Barjack, they were not finally throw out their feet. And they feel important. Not even important, impotent. So they stay in the government and they stay quiet. Everybody keeps sharing the link. So I wanted to address that. And so the article that I wrote dealt with that. It is the most simplistic assessment of a situation. What causes riots in Buxton and Golden Grove and Hope Tongue and Belladrum and Number 5 Village where the Henry boys were killed, and Mocha and Linden? You notice what kind of communities are those? Afro-Guyanese communities. The root causes of these kinds of disturbances are social justice in nature. They're injustices and discrimination. Every time the People's Progressive Party government is in power, they discriminate against black people. This is the worst. This here is the worst. We are almost on the verge of the kind of treatment that slave receives. slaves. Shoot to kill. You have no right to protest. You cannot speak out. My supporters don't like you because you have a business that's competing with mine. We create some lie that you did something and kick down your door and come and shoot you and kill you while you were lying next to your wife, as was done with Mr. Buxton on the Essequibo Coast. And the police lie, the leadership lies, the government lies to cover up these actions because the government wants Black people, Black communities to be intimidated by the police so that if they decide to rise up as a result of vicious oppression, vicious racial discrimination, the same police will be sent to shoot them down. So from the time you see the police, you must be scared, intimidated. And they handpicked these leaders. And then they say, oh, well, you know, the entire police force is Black. You can go tell Clifford Hicken that he's Black. I don't believe he believes he's Black. I think he thinks he's Indian. And that he must support this racist East Indian-led government. And then they have their people at CID that will frame you and say, oh, that boy, they're giving problems, frame me. Frame me with a murder and put him away. And then the courts willingly comply. There's nobody there with integrity who can say, no, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. So the fact of the matter is that the root causes, but that was the Quinlan Bacchus shooting. Came on before the time I actually wanted to show it. Part of the root cause of these kinds of disturbances, right? The Stabrook News and other entities in civil society and the press don't want to deal with the issue because they believe that Black people should be marginalized. They come from that part of society that wants domination over Black people. We are by nature dominant. We by nature outstanding. We by nature aggressive, right? And a large portion of the Guyanese society that is non-Black wants to see Black people under subjugation. That's my view. Because they're not speaking out. They're complicit with the government. So in their discussion of the atrocity in Buxton that created the unrest, they rather triangulate. Oh, well, you know, the government, yes, they fire some bullets into the homes, but that doesn't mean that Black people must come out and riot and kill and, and steal and rob. Those are criminal activities. Well, what the police did in Buxton was criminal. Firing indiscriminately. Suppose some baby was sleeping somewhere in some house that was shot. They don't want to frontally address the PPP government's racial discrimination, excesses, ruthlessness, economic genocide, crimes against humanity. They want to do a two-step dance. Yeah, the government little thing, but you know, y'all are criminals, y'all Black people. Y'all rob these East Indian people. Let's assume that somebody was robbed. I don't even believe that. But let's assume somebody was robbed. What caused it? Those people would have been in their homes prepared to go to work or wherever it is. Go and pick coconuts, go farm, whatever. What caused them to come out on the road to protest? What caused them to block the road? The actions of the government, excesses. And in any civilized society, that's where the problem has to be addressed. But not this PPP government. No, 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 no. The police people are doing the right thing by shooting down those black people. That's what we want. Wipe them out. That's what Bar Jagdeo did during his government. Former death squad that killed out hundreds of black people, over 1,000. And then they said, well, they're criminals. How dare you defend criminals? Well, there's a rule of law. And that rule of law says, if someone is accused of a crime, there's a process. You charge them, you place them before the court. There are arguments to back and forth for and against these charges. An independent judge or jury analyze the evidence presented and the arguments, along with the facts and circumstances of this case, and makes a determination, or you're judged by a jury of your peers. If you're convicted, you're convicted, if it's a fair process. You don't call somebody a criminal and go kill them, because then somebody in society might want to do the same thing to you. And then we will not have an orderly society, right? No, we will not have an orderly society. That's why society has rules. But the PPP wants to make up rules. So there are one set of rules for themselves and one set of rules for their ethnic supporters and the other set of rules for black people. You black people are not equal to us. You must have, you must stay to the back of the room. Get to the back of the bus, you black people. That's the attitude of this PPP government. They're a racist government. They're an apartheid government. They're a neo-fascist government. So let's look at Buxton. Buxton is a village that was bought by slaves. You know how the slaves bought that village? They pooled their money. Victoria, Buxton, major villages, BV, Mucka, and so on. Free slaves pool their resources and they push it in a wheelbarrow, a bangle here, a ring there, a couple money here, a couple penny here, a couple 10 cents. They pool their resources. They saved it up and they bought villages and land, estates. And Buxtonians have always recognized that they are free people. And they have always challenged rulership, authoritative rulership. People who want to rule them. Dictators. So Buxton has a history of resistance, challenging governor. Buxton people stopped train. We all grew up hearing that. They stopped the train of the governor of then British Guyana. Buxton will not be colonialized again. Now remember, the government used persons who are currently in the GDF, in the leadership of the GDF, in the leadership of the police, at the toppest, if I might invent a word, level of the police force. The PPP government used them along with Roger Khan and his death squads to go and kill people in Buxton. Bar Jagdeo's government did that. Never any justice. That's what the PPP wants to do. They want black people who are servile, you know, must bow to them. Yes, yes, my Lord Bar Jagdeo. Yes, my Lord Arfan Ali. We're not doing that. Go to hell with that. We're not doing that. So that's what they want, to create a generation of slaves. So these people in the leadership of the police force and the GDF, some of them in the GDF today, aspiring to be the chief of staff and all that, Bar Jagdev's government used them to kill people. There's no equivocation about that. Bar Jagdev's government and Roger Khan death squad rather use these people and the Khan Phantom death squad to kill black people. Several of these people from Buxton, Shaka Blair, and others. Could you imagine the trauma Buxtonians experience, knowing that the police came into their village, shot down, kicked down doors, shot down men in front of their children and wives? Nothing happened. So let's back up and think about this. Racism, racial discrimination, displacement, firings, using the police to enforce racial supremacy and to try to keep the black population in check. People being shot down. Keep sharing the link, everybody. No justice. Your community can't thrive because the government is not putting back your tax dollars into your community to develop it. There's no black empowerment program. So there's hopelessness, intimidation, unemployment, high crime. So those villages are at a boiling point because of all these socioeconomic factors that I've listed. And then the police are going to come and start shooting in their homes. No apology was given, no compensation, no the difference in how the communities are treated. In Monrepo, the people break up their stores. Oh, millions of dollars the government pours into Monrepo. The people get money, millions of dollars, build back their stall, compensation for loss of items and goods. Buxton, black people, nothing. Police shoot up your house, break up your glass, shoot through your wall. Oh, y'all not black people, y'all don't get anything. Frankly, when juxtaposed and analyzed alongside what happens in other countries, even the developed world, I am shocked that we're not in full-blown civil war in Guyana yet. Extrajudicial killings, shootings and killings of young black men, Quindon Bacchus, Kevin Andrews, or in Boston. Joel and Isaiah, Henry, the framing of their brother. I am shocked that we are not in full-blown civil war. In other countries like Sudan and the Congo and East Timor and Indonesia, I mean, you name them, less atrocities than this. Created decades of civil war. Rwanda, the Congo. The Central African Republic, Somalia. And I want to particularly focus on Sudan, because the most apt situation when compared to Guyana, Sudan. Sudan was a country rich in oil, rich in culture, but you had two sets of ethnicities. You had Northern Sudan, which were Arabs, Muslim Arabs. They're black people, but they were Arabs. Who consistently enacted the kinds of policies the PPP is enacting against black people. Marginalization, subjugation, discrimination against Southern Sudan, which is the southern part of the country, which is now known as Southern Sudan, South Sudan. And those people are Christians. They're non-Arab Christians. And because of decades of discrimination and marginalization and victimization and subjugation, the people of South Sudan rose up. And they had a civil war. The country was split in half, was divided. There are now two countries: the Muslim Arabs, the Muslim blacks, and the Christians. And I'm contending that if we want to preserve Guyana as the country we know, we must study Sudan. Sudan must be our object lesson. We must learn from it. We must learn how marginalization and other atrocities and subjugation caused the country to be divided, caused civil conflict, and put best practices in place if we want to preserve Guyana as we know it. Because in this modern era, we are not, no population is going to subject itself to slavery, subjugation, racial marginalization, racism, racial discrimination. The cabal that runs the PPP government is an ethnocracy. It's an apartheid government. It's a cabal that uses the resources of the country only for their East Indian supporters. Just look at the budget. Like I mentioned earlier tonight, the hospitality industry is based in Georgetown, primarily, 95%. 95%. But if you look at the people who are working at the hotels in Guyana, they're of a certain race. You want to go to the Marriott? You could count on one hand the Afro-Guyanese people you see there. So even though the hospitality industry is primarily based in Region 4, the government has decided announced in the budget that they're taking a hospitality training institute to Port Moran in Berbice in Region 6. Who from Region 4 is going to travel to Region 6 to go and learn hospitality? Not at UG, not at GTI, not at any institute, not at Carnegie School of Home Economics. No, Port Morant, the home of the PPP. Because why? The PPP believe their supporters are superior to black people who live in Region 4 and its environs. Ethnic superiority. Look at the development where it's happening in Guyana. You see any major development projects in any black community? Economic apartheid, genocide. Linden? No. Buxton? No. Then Amstel? No. Golden Grove? No. Ants Grove? No. Myconi? Well, Myconi is primarily Indians. They have some pockets of black people. Belladrum? No. Hopetown? Litchfield? No. Liverpool? Lancaster? Manchester? Alness? I mean, you name them. Then Amstel, Vreeden Hoop, Sisters, Bagotstown, Dikendron, Iflot, Stroudville, I mean, and it goes on. Name me one major development project in a black community under this government. They're building shore base, gas to shore, whatever. The contracts, 98% of them are going to East Indians. Sorry, 90%. And the other majority of that 10% that is left are going to overseas. And in that overseas are Indian Trinidadian contractors. The government is so vicious that if you're overtly supportive of the opposition, you can't get a job. The PPP has decided that we own Guyana. Bar Jagdeo and his family, grandfather died and left the transport for Guyana at Freedom House. They own all the lands. They determine who must get lands. They determine who got come off for land. Even ancestral lands that black people foreparents bought with their blood, sweat, and tears in Mecca, they driving the black people off the land. Bulldozing homes, killing and burying cattle, household appliances, furniture, slavery. The PPP is repeating slavery in Guyana against black people. They believe that Guyana is their plantation. Jagdeo and Ali, their grandfather died and left the transport for Plantation Guyana in their names. They're so vicious and nasty that opposition professionals can't get no job in Guyana, not in the Caribbean, not with international institutions. Them, they say, if I wasn't on being viewed around the world, I would have described them the way my grandfather described these racists in the PPP. And my grandfather was a PPP member of parliament until he switched over to Burnham. They're blocking black professionals from getting jobs who don't support them because them own the country. Qualified. And let me tell you something. When it comes to qualified people, the PPP can't stand with the black community. I say that. We're more qualified than them. We're brilliant. The PPP, people in the PPP, they have a few qualified people. But they're so nasty and vicious and racist that they believe that if you support the opposition, you mustn't work. You can't have a viable business in Guyana. You can't own property. The police must hunt you down. They must free. I live in America. I'm not even under their jurisdiction. And because I speak out with a loud voice, fearlessly, they're reaching into America to try to harass me. Putting out wanted bulletins. According to what I heard from inside PP sources, they said, when people see the wanted bulletin, they don't want to associate with Burke because I'm a criminal. And Jagdeo had the audacity to, at a press conference, said elected officials must stay away from me because I'm a con artist and I'm a criminal. Bar Jagdeo, who presided over a government that murdered people, committed political assassinations, he should not have his liberty. Bar Jagdeo should not have his liberty right now. He's named as a defendant of a murder case before the Inter-American Human Rights Commission. Caught in his basement or wherever, negotiating a $500 bribe with a journalist posing as a Chinese company and has a history of collecting bribes and other inducement through Sue, calling me a criminal, he should have his liberty. He has blood on his hands, the blood of Black people, blood of victims of extrajudicial killings that his government formed and ordered. So it is within this context that we must analyze the unrest that we see in Black communities. It is because of the discrimination, the subjugation, the racism, the marginalization, the economic deprivation, and the injustices that they are encouraging the police with. Police shoot up in people's homes, not an apology from the government, no, not an investigation. An investigation is a waste of time. And when you speak about those things, they say, oh, you're a racist. Everybody's a racist. They are congenital, innate racists. It is taught, these PPP people, they teach generations how to be racist and hateful towards Afro-Guyanese, the PPP. That's what they go to their bottom houses and do. And it's a shame that people like Mark Phillips and Onage Waldron and Joe Hamilton and the others, Juana Jill and Utah and all these people sit up in a racist organization, anti-Black organization, the most racist in the hemisphere, an apartheid regime that is populated with neo-fascists. And they want to talk about, oh, the criminal elements in Buxton. And they know that their oppression is going to lead to violence. They know that. It is a natural cause of violence in society. I'm not calling for it. I'm not justifying it. I am saying in any society you go, Europe, any society, Belgium, United Kingdom, the United States, wherever, when you marginalize people and you push them into hopelessness, and poverty, crime is going to go up, unemployment is going to go up, and civil disobedience will go up, and you will eventually have a civil war. Because that's how human beings respond to oppression. Now, me say so, you know. Sociologists and scholars have written, it is established, it's an established theory that oppression leads to high crime. Deliberate impoverishment leads to unrest and crime and government dependency. And that's what apartheid is. Apartheid is segregation, political, racial, social, cultural segregation and discrimination on the basis of race. It's a textbook. The PPP government and its governance is a textbook example of apartheid. It is a system of government and a way of life. And they use law enforcement to impose it, just like we have in Guyana. Guyana has an apartheid government. Ethnocracy uses the resources of the state only for their own ethnic collective or ethnic group, ethnic supporters. It's an apartheid government that discriminates and engages in segregation. And they're neo-fascists. They think that they were superior. They think that they are plutocrats. Oh, we are rich and so we must govern the country. You know, we are the new plantocracy. We are the new slave owner. They swear that they're the new white slave owners. The only thing left for them to do is ride on horses and whip black people. They actually did it in Mocha almost. And they don't want you to talk these things because, oh no, don't you educate the people about our racism because you're racist yourself. Well, I wear it with if creating awareness among my people is racist, then I wear it with a badge of honor. There's no question in my mind that the agenda of the government is to drive black communities into the ground, into deprivation, into social and economic decay. That is the agenda of the government, to impoverish black communities. Imagine Region 4 has the largest population in the country, and they cut it, and Region 3 and Region 5, those two tiny regions, have a larger budget. A large allocation of taxpayer dollars going back to those regions in Region 4. Why? Black people live in Region 4. That's it. There's no more sugarcoating. And they use government appointees to frustrate the will of elected officials. The town clerk is frustrating the city council. REOs are telling elected regional chairmen and regional democratic councils that they can't go and improve the infrastructure in black communities because that's not the priority of the government. And they have veto power. REOs are given veto power over budgetary priorities of the elected regional democratic council. Fascism. Oh, the money of Guyana is only to be spent on East Indians, our supporters, not even East Indians. PPP supporters who are East Indians. All of we money, the country money. Well, not all of us, not me. I don't live in the country. The natural patch money, the resources. You better watch out before the PPP claim that Mount Roraima belongs to the PPP. And the Pacaraima mountain range, that belongs to the PPP. Essequibo River, that belongs to the PPP too. The Demerara Harbor Bridge, that belongs to the PPP. The East Coast Highway, that belongs to the PPP. Mocha, that's our estate. Our grandfather left it for us. The Linden Suzek Highway, that is PPP personal property too. MMA project, PPP property. The Rice, PPP property. Timeri Airport, PPP personal property. Burbis River, PPP own that too. Demerara River, the harbor, that is PPP property too. Georgetown, that belongs to the PPP. And the coalition, city council, they are illegally occupying Georgetown. That belongs to the PPP too. Guyana belongs to the PPP. That is their plantations that their grandfather from wherever, Bangladesh or India or wherever, willed Guyana to them, bequeathed Guyana to these racist neo-fascists, Jack Day and company, that cabal. Now, like I said, they know their oppression, and I'm about to close. They know that their oppression will lead to unrest. Everybody is predicting that Guyana is going to experience a civil war soon. 85 organization heads and prominent citizens of Guyana signed a letter to the US Vice President saying that we are on the verge of a civil war, incited by PPP racism, racial discrimination, and subjugation. It is almost going to be a rebellion like the Coffee and Company who rebelled against colonial slave masters. Everybody's predicting that. People can't see that. Oh no, there's no racial. They're like Animal Farm, the pigs in Animal Farm. Pigs appropriately called pigs. There is no racism in Guyana. There's no instability. There is nothing of the sort. We love everybody. We particularly love Black people. Yes, there's no such thing as racism in Guyana. When you say that to them, well, why don't you meet with, oh, Black leaders? We will never meet with Black leaders. They don't want to recognize the Black community leaders who the people elected. NDC councillors, regional councillors and regional chairmen, members of parliament that the people elected. The opposition leader, the PP government, oh no, we are neo-fascists. We don't consult with anybody. We dictate to them what must be done. Oh, your leaders? We don't recognize your leaders. We want to select the house Negroes in the community who are servile, who must worship us and come and sit at our feet and beg us for some crumbs from the table. That's who we recognize. We are like the fascist apartheid leaders in South Africa. That's who are inspiring our governance. They know this is going to lead to a civil war. So they prepared sometime last year a national security, and I'm going to read verbatim from it, a national security analysis, which they were talking to Black people and about Black people and opposition supporters. They said they are well aware that with their own behavior and their own lack of unity, they cannot win an election. This is the PPP. Black people and coalition supporters cannot win an election because they're all divided. So because they can't win an election, this is what they do. Their mission is to disrupt the economy, destabilize the country, burn and loot and destroy buildings and public infrastructure. That's the PPP. When the PNC government was in power, that's what the PPP did from coast to coast. Burn sugarcane industry, burn sugarcane to cripple the sugar industry so that they can't produce sugar to export to get foreign exchange revenue to run the country. That's the PPP. Destroy infrastructure. They used to burn bridges and dig up roads. Set bombs all around the country. That is the PPP. They're projecting. They think everybody is like them. The PPP is the only organization that conducted a campaign of terrorism in Guyana. Throughout their governance in the last 23 years, in the 23 years before the Granger administration, and from 1961 to 1964, the PPP conducted a terrorist campaign in Guyana where they burned everything and run Black people out of their villages and killed them. Everybody know about the civil disturbance. We had a civil war instigated by the PPP from 1961 to 1964, and they almost burned the whole country down. That's why we have a national song that says, "Oh, arise, triumphant glory from the ashes." Ashes. Ashes created by the PPP, from the ashes of the past. PPP almost burned the country down. These are the ones talking about Black people will loot and burn and destroy. And then they said, and they will attempt to flame division inside the ranks of the joint services. Why? They know that the joint services is majority Black. And they know that they're practicing racial discrimination against members of the joint services. They know that they're practicing racism in the GDF and the Guyana Police Force and in the fire service, where they're refusing to promote certain Black officers and elevating Indian officers because they feel that too many Black officers are in these services. But let me tell you, No opposition has to foment dissension or division in the GDF or the joint services. The PPP's racism is doing that for itself, as I said before. They're skipping over 2 black officers, I think of Colonel Roberts and Colonel Skeet, to promote Omar Khan as Chief of Staff of the Army. Don't black officers have a right to be angry and disenchanted? Who are these people that they must commit these kinds of atrocities and disrespect black people and commit racial discrimination? And people must say, yes, my lord. And you're trying to blame people on the opposite side of the political spectrum for your racial, for the effects of your racism? Deal with it. Deal with it. Don't blame anybody. Officers of the GDF, stand up for your rights. The government knows they see the election results. They know that 90% of you voted against the PPP government. That's why they don't want to give you an increase in your salary. That's why they want to engage in ethnic, racial triumphalism and call back Colonel Omar Khan from retirement. Supersede black officers to become the Chief of Staff, is my understanding, is their plan when the current Chief of Staff comes off. It is racial discrimination is fueling division in the country. No opposition, nobody. And they talk about destruction of public building and public infrastructure. Everybody in Georgetown knows that those school fires look very suspicious. And then came the announcement, we will not rebuild those schools on the same prominent real estate they were. We will put them back in isolated areas, and we will sell those. The minister did announce that the schools would not be built back where they were. I am now adding that they probably, I wouldn't be surprised if they're sold to Mr. Kissoon or Mr. Mohammed or somebody to build a hotel, or, you know. Opposition ain't got no reason to foment. The government is doing it itself. The government is fomenting all the dissension in the country. The government is fomenting racial instability, racial hostility. The government is fomenting a civil war in the country through its racial discrimination. You tell me what you expect the people at Buxton to do, if not protests. The post office and schools and health centers are run down. The roads are impassable. They can't bring their produce out from the farms to sell. There are no jobs for the young people. Their parents can't get a job because they're perceived to be opposition supporters. And those who are working for a measly salary. They're poor, they're impoverished, they can't put food on the table. They can't walk on the streets without being harassed by the police. They're being shot and killed and gunned down and pursued with no justice. What you expect them to do, not to protest? And when you infuriate the protest, infuriate those protesters, you don't expect it to turn into a disturbance or a riot? That's what you're provoking. That's what you're inciting. Poverty breeds hopelessness. Hopelessness leads to disturbance. They have nothing to fear, nothing to lose. Talk to the psychologists. Let us look at the psychological and economic impact of the subjugation and the racism of this government. Let's look at the impact it has had on Black communities, the the agenda of impoverishment. And tell me what you expect. You expect them to go to church and sing hymns of the old Negro spiritual, or hymns sung by the Negroes of old? The Lord's my shepherd and whatnot? Amazing grace? No! They're going to rebel. Guyana is their country too. Guyana is their country too. And we know that the government wants to build an ethnic dynasty on the backs of Black people. They want to take away Black lands to give it to their supporters. There's a certain situation brewing that will soon elicit a remarkable response from the United States. And it has to do with racial discrimination and the way they're treating people. It is time for the African Guyanese community to organize. Organize yourselves into consortiums and bid for contracts. Organize yourselves in such a way that you cannot be ineligible. Form your own Black private sector chamber, Black private sector and chambers of commerce. Form your own medical doctors association. Form your own lawyers association. Form your own farmers association. We are living in the midst of racial discrimination, unprecedented apartheid governance in Guyana. And Black people have to organize to take affirmative action to secure their place in our country. The country is developing at a rapid pace because of the oil economy. And the PPP's agenda is to shut you out, shut out African Guyanese, shut out East Indians, shut out Aborigines who don't support them. They don't believe in inclusive growth and an inclusive democracy. They don't believe in an inclusive governance. They don't believe in government for all the people. They don't believe that Black people should benefit from the oil resources of the country, from the oil revenues, from the natural patrimony of Guyana. They don't believe that. Stop trying to pretend that they do. Stop talking about, oh, we all live in one house. No, this PPP government does not want to live in harmony and peace with Black people. That's a fact. Look at their policies. I am not preaching division. I am analyzing the policies of the PPP government. And so we're heading to a fork in the road. As Guyanese, we have to decide what we want with our nation. Do we want to go down the road of inclusive growth and development for everybody that benefits everybody? Or are we going to allow the PPP to divide the country, where we probably have to look at the Republic of Venezuela or the Republic of Berbice and Demerara or whatever it is? That's where they're driving this country. They're driving this country down the path of Sudan. That's what they want. They don't believe in no one Guyana. Their one Guyana is one East Indian Guyana, and that East Indian is not even oneness in the East Indian population, because the East Indians that don't support them are not part of their one Guyana. We have to start organizing. As Guyanese, we got to disabuse ourselves of shallow analysis presented by the PPP and their supporters about, oh, one Guyana and their criminal elements there and there causing it. No. We have to discuss the future of the country within the context that we have an apartheid government who don't believe Black people should own homes and lands and businesses and thrive, who don't believe that we must experience economic advancement, the government who doesn't believe that we should be wealthy, that we must own things, that we must own viable businesses and large businesses, and we must bid for contracts. They don't believe that. They don't believe our communities must thrive. They don't believe that. They don't believe in the empowerment of every Guyanese. They don't believe in empowerment of the Black community. And we must strategize and plan and organize like the Africans in South Africa did to defeat their racism and their apartheid government. It is this type of analysis that must inform our national dialogue going forward. We can't sugarcoat it anymore. We can't sugarcoat it anymore. We are at a fork in the road. It's either the country developed for everybody, or the PPP is going to leave the Black community and Amerindians behind and develop Guyana for their own ethnicity. And in that case, some of us will be slaves. Some of you, not me. If you don't want to stand up for your rights and fight for your country, will be slaves on a PPP plantation. That's where we're heading. And they think that, oh, when we say these things, we're extreme. We're not extreme. We're pragmatic. We're reading the tea leaves. We're seeing where the country is going. We're analyzing in a realistic way. And until we do this, and until those who are silent to this set of atrocities and this apartheid government wake up and speak out and stand up, all of you in the country will be consumed by an inevitable failed state. Because when there's civil disturbances or a civil war or a civil conflict, the country will become a failed state. Failed states don't develop. We are at a crossroads. We must choose the future for our country. Do we want to divide the country that the PPP is dividing? Or do you want to preserve Guyana as it is? If you want to preserve Guyana as it is, you have to fight for inclusive growth and inclusive democracy, inclusive governance. That's why all of you need to be registered. Every single person who is feeling victimized and marginalized must be registered. From the time you hit the eligible age, get registered and prepare to vote. Every single one of you. And when the next election comes, every single person must go out and vote. The PPP is hustling hard to bring people from India and Venezuela and Cuba to build on their electoral prospects. You could defeat that by ensuring that every single eligible person in your house and every single eligible person in your neighborhood, your community, your town, your region is registered to vote. That's how you defeat racism. That's how you defeat fascism. That's how you defeat this apartheid government. Good night, everybody.